How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Kevin and I'm currently a software engineer working in New York City. If you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you guys are probably well aware of the fact that I've had a handful of different jobs throughout my past 4 years working as a software engineer in the industry. And hands down, one of the most frequently asked questions I get right now is, why have I changed jobs so often, and has that even benefited me at all? Has it had any drawbacks? What do people say when I interview? And ultimately, should you change jobs as well? And so because I've moved jobs a handful of different times throughout my past 4 years in the industry, I thought this would be really helpful to talk to you guys about, because for me personally, changing jobs in tech has only helped my career, my salary, my compensation, anything you name it. Changing jobs has helped me in that area. And as a disclaimer, I'm not saying it's necessarily going to do that for you, but I wanted to talk in this video about why it has been helpful for me and how it could be helpful for you too. So for me, I think the most important reason why changing jobs constantly in tech for me has been really beneficial is because it's given me an entire breadth of experiences in terms of what kinds of companies I might want to work at. And I don't think people think about this nearly enough in their careers. I think a lot of people, especially trying to come out of college and get a job, or just trying to get their first jobs as a self-taught engineer, I really think try and focus and index on finding the job, but once they get the job, they don't worry too much about looking for another job. And I think that personally, this is the wrong way to do it. I think by actually having a handful of different experiences at a variety of companies is really helpful for understanding what you like and what you don't like. And if you only have one job, or you sort of stick to one job for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, name however many years you want, you really don't know what else is out there. And I don't really like that idea. And so for me, when I came out of college, I really understood that I wanted to try a handful of different companies, honestly, and sort of see what each of them felt like, to see if I liked working at a smaller company or a larger company or a mid-sized company, if I liked the startup culture or a larger company's culture, if I liked the work-life balance working in one field versus another, or working with one technology versus all the others that are out there right now. And I think it's actually by changing jobs and trying these different experiences that actually allowed me to learn those different things. I think in other ways, if you sort of just read about things online or you ask your friends, it really doesn't substitute for you actually having that experience on your own and being able to come to your own decision as to whether or not you prefer working at company A or working at company B. And so for me, I really think this was the biggest benefit that I got in terms of actually trying out different companies, because now I feel like I actually understand what I like to do as an engineer, the products that I like to work on, the scale that I want to work on, the people that I want to work with, and the work that I want to do. And I really think it's really hard to put a monetary value on that, but that's definitely the most important thing that I was able to learn by working at these handful of different companies early in my career. So the first step in changing jobs in tech is obviously applying for a new job in tech, and that's where today's sponsor, Hirect, can really help out. So Hirect is an iOS and Android-based app that streamlines the recruiting process at companies. Using Hirect, candidates can skip the long emailing process that we've all grown too accustomed to and instead chat directly with CEOs and recruiters of companies that match their interests. Using traditional emailing method, candidates can sometimes have to wait days or even weeks to hear back about opportunities, but by using Hirect, candidates can hear back in as little as a matter of seconds. And it's actually thanks to this streamlined communication that Hirect helps make the hiring process as smooth and as convenient as possible for both companies and candidates. Most candidates who actually choose to use Hirect actually get feedback the first day that they start using the app. Hirect is helping transform the recruiting process as we know it today, and it's currently being used by over 10,000 startups, so there's plenty of jobs for you guys to apply to. If you guys are interested in trying Hirect, I highly recommend checking the link in the description, and you can do so. Thank you again so much to Hirect for sponsoring the video today. The next thing that I really think you get by jumping companies constantly in tech, and this is probably top of everyone's mind, and that's more money. I really think that there's no shortage of money that you can make in tech, generally speaking, and I think that the way that you do that most efficiently is actually by changing jobs constantly. And I think the main reason for this is because when you change companies, let's say after 6 months working at company A to company B, you have full control, assuming that you can interview well and you can negotiate well in terms of how much money you're going to make. You're probably constrained to sort of like salary bands or level caps in terms of what level they might interview you at, or in terms of how much money you might be able to make within a specific pay band. But I really think that that's super beneficial, and you guys should try and take advantage of that. When you work at a single company, you're on their clock. You go by their schedule, and ultimately whatever they say goes. You guys can sort of stick it out at that company, but you have to understand that you're only going to be evaluated during performance reviews, and you're only going to be subjected to whatever raise they can give you per the company policies. Whereas if you change companies, oftentimes there's a lot more flexibility in terms of how much more money you can can make and when you could decide to actually make more money. So speaking in my experience specifically, I made almost twice the amount of money working from my first job to my second job. And again, that was, if you guys have been following the channel, not my decision. I actually ended up getting laid off and therefore I had to find a new job. But I always say that actually changing jobs and getting laid off in one of the weirdest ways possible was one of the best things that ever happened in my career. And one of the reasons was because I actually ended up making almost twice as much money and I found a company that I liked virtually twice as much. So if you want to make more money and you're interested in trying to change between companies, I definitely recommend at least interviewing and hearing out what they might be able to offer you in terms of a package. It can never hurt and you can always say no. Don't forget that. So remember, you don't actually have to leave necessarily, but you can go through the interview process. You could sort of see what you think about their offer, their package, their culture, etc. And then you could decide to make the switch if you're so inclined. The third reason why I actually recommend changing companies constantly, or at least a few different times throughout your career, at least your early career in tech, is because you can get promoted faster. And this sort of ties into the previous point, but I also think it's something that you should think about. A lot of times when you're at a single company, you're sort of restricted to whatever they say in terms of promotions. If the average tenure at your level is 2 years, you're probably looking at 2 years, maybe a year and a half in terms of when you're going to go up for promotion to get to the next level. And again, the next level typically means that your salary is probably going to go up, right? Up and to the right, that's the way we want to go. But I do think that sort of you're subjected to their rules and whatever they say about promotions. If they say it takes about a year and a half to 2 years, that's probably what you're looking at. Whereas if you want to expedite that timeline, again, you can go outside and talk to other companies, and oftentimes at other companies, they don't know you're leveling. And so if you could present as a senior engineer or a staff engineer or whatever level engineer you can present as, oftentimes, as long as you can back that up during the interview, on your resume, with your communication skills, etc., you can interview at that level. And as long as you could perform at that level during interviews and beyond on the job, they're going to have no problem hiring you at that level. And I think that's really valuable because I think some people are actually very, very good at what they do and they don't realize how good they are and how valuable of an asset they are to a team until they actually go and talk to someone else. And it's not until they realize how much more they can be offered that they realize their worth, and maybe they're not actually being valued enough at their current job and they're not being adequately compensated in terms of the value that they're able to bring to the table. And so again, remember that. Don't subject yourself to a timeline that's sort of just defined for every single person who works in a company. And again, if you want to do that, that's fine. Like, you can live your life however you want to. But if you're interested in sort of seeing what else is out there, I think this is a great way to do that. Because if you want to sort of move through different levels faster at different companies, I think the best way to do that really is moving companies. And so this is, again, one of the other benefits that you get by moving around in tech. You can sort of interview at higher levels and get promoted faster by moving between companies. The final thing that I think you really gain by changing companies in tech is you just get to tackle new challenges, learn new things, be around new people in different environments, and that's really valuable. I think for me, I would never realize how much I like one language versus another if I didn't work in different environments using those different things. And I think a lot of times in engineering, the tasks that you tend to do can get very boring, very tedious, very fast. I think especially if you're working on things that you're already not interested in, or you're working in a language or a technology that you're not super privy on using, that's going to be expedited, and that's not great. So I think you're probably going to get pretty bored at your job. You're going to get fed up with it. You're not really going to love your day to day. And again, I think that's really important. You guys should evaluate that. Working 40 hours a week is a lot of time. That's a lot of your life. And I really recommend that you guys try and maximize your happiness during those 40 hours a week if you have to be there anyways. So try and find something that suits you. Try and find an environment that you like. And again, the way that you're going to find an environment you like, at least in my opinion, or one way that you definitely can find the best environment, is try a handful of different ones and then choose the one you want and seek that out. And by changing different companies, you're actually going to be able to tackle totally different challenges. You might be able to work in one company that's related to healthcare, and then a totally different company that's just fintech. And so by changing companies, you could also change the challenges that you face and the challenges that you tackle, which is really exciting. And I think personally just keeps the job really interesting. So again, those are some of the reasons why I decided to change jobs a few different times within my first 4 years of working as a software engineer in the industry. I'm not saying that you guys have to, but again, I tried to lay out sort of the different things and benefits that I got from it in terms of monetary value and otherwise. And again, I really want to stress that I think the most important thing that I did gain, aside from just obviously being compensated better, was the fact that I actually kind of know a lot better now what I like in a job, what I look for, what's important for me to have, what are things that I can live with, and what are things that I absolutely cannot, what are things that are red flags, what are things that I need. And I think that's super, super valuable because our careers are pretty long if we think about it. And so again, try and maximize that happiness, try and find an environment that you're going to enjoy, and try and change jobs if it's going to give you something better that you don't have today. So guys, that's it for the video today. If you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more. I'll see you guys next time.